So Prem Thakar at ZTO got Khalil's correspondence with the Columbia administration talking about like his fears about these people kind of going after him.
Yeah, this is from that piece. Khalil cited a threatening post by the pro-Israel organization Betar in January. In the post, the group wrote that he said, quote, Zionists don't deserve to live, a statement Khalil, quote, unequivocally denied making in his email to university officials. Betar also wrote that ICE, quote, is aware of his home address and whereabouts, and that they have, quote, provided all his information to multiple contacts. He's on our deport list, exclamation point, Betar added. Now, we have talked about Betar on this very show.
I think it was in an Eric Adams episode.
How are you everywhere at once at all times?
Betar?
You are our Forrest Gump.
I don't know. I met the executive director, former
It's not
executive
even
director.
met. You got in a fight with.
Well, okay. So
You got in a social media beef.
Last May, I was in a public park, Washington Square Park, just buying heroin. And there was a disgusting guy who, like I said, looked like Bruce Willis post-diagnosis that someone left him out in the sun and forgot about him for a while. I mean, no disrespect to Bruce Willis by saying that. That's
Or
just,
grapes.
or Graves, but he did look like that. I met this homunculus,
He's very homunculous.
and he was filming a blonde woman sitting down on a bench, and I say, you gotta stop that, you know? And he starts going crazy on me, and his son, who, by the way, has been doxxed, and it's like, wow.
Wait, someone doxed the baby?
Well, he's not a baby, he's an adult who goes to college.
He could be an adult baby.
He is an adult baby.
And we don't know how
We don't know how he
his own
identifies.
practices,
It's
but I
true.
just want to, someone doxed that baby.
Someone doxed the baby. But his son was standing there humiliated behind his disgusting father. His father starts asking me about my penis. He's like, you got a penis? Is your penis little? Is there something with your penis? And
Wait, sorry, can we stop? I love the idea of going up to people and be like, you got a penis.
what the hell is that?
Hey, excuse me. You got a penis?
You got a penis?
What do you got going on over there?
So this is, I don't know this guy is, I don't know this guy from Adam. I come in there and I'm saying, stop filming this woman. She's very visibly uncomfortable by your hideous presence.
Yes.
Please stop.
Is chivalry dead? No, it is not in Washington Square Park.
No, maybe I want to film. You know what I mean?
No.
I don't. I don't film women. I don't film anything. But except for, of course, my onanism. But I was like, stop. You got to stop that. And he starts going crazy on me. Crazy. And I have like, this guy is a nut. And I'm looking at him and he is fucking covered in freckles.
Yeah.
He looks like...
Desperately needs a laser.
It's interesting that he's bald, but I can still tell he's a redhead. You know what I'm saying? Not a speck of hair on that fucking dome of his, but I can tell. And no disrespect to redheads, but it was just still... It was
endangered species.
An endangered... Well, this is not... They're not sending their best. This guy was a fucking freak. And frankly...
And then he started filming you.
He started filming me. And I'm like, oh, so you're bisexual. That doesn't excuse this, but you gotta stop. And he's just going crazy about me. He's asking me about Hamas. He's asking me if I support Hamas, if I support killing babies, blah, blah, blah. He's filming for minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes. He posts that footage.
I know.
And it turns
he
out his
had
name...
no idea.
I had no idea who he was. And it turns out his name is Ross Glick. And so I go, Ross Glick? This guy's what a crazy name. I look him up, and it turns out the New York Post has written a story a few years ago about the revenge porn kingpins of New York City. And it turns out this guy, Ross Glick, had been arrested by the NYPD, who I support, for disseminating revenge porn. What he would do is he got in an argument with some woman that he was seeing. Doesn't sound like you're a very good boyfriend. In fact, doesn't sound like you're a very good man at all. And he would log into her companies and her personal social media accounts and post pictures of her naked. I mean, can you imagine what kind of person would do something like that?
A monster.
A fucking monster. I'm sorry. Like, this is the actions of a despicable creep. And what do I find? He's executive director of an organization called Betar. Now, we've talked about Betar in a previous episode. Yada, yada. We know the deal. They collaborated with Mussolini. They were terrorists. They were, they were fascists. Einstein called them fascists.
The ADL labeled them an extremist group.
I mean, it's out of control.
Do you know how extreme you got to be for the ADL to be like, whoa, 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 whoa?
For you to have to be Jewish and have the ADL say something.
There you go.
That's the thing, is the ADL, by the way, which has always been bad, but has completely every day disgraces itself further. Always been bad. Now much worse. And it was like 3 years ago that companies were hiring them to do DEI stuff.
I know.
It's amazing. Betar is nominally run and was sort of restarted in America because it was around and then it kind of went fallow. And Ron Tarosian, who is an absolutely psychotic New York City publicist, very close to Eric Adams and Richie Torres.
Yes.
Sort of restarted it, who also, by the way...
Two boobs of New York City.
Yeah, I mean, my God. It is... How are these people in power? Tarosian is a freak. Even people from his own industry despise him. And this is the case with everybody connected to almost every single one of these groups. Everybody in their personal lives does not like them.
And then they take it out on everyone else.
Well, that's the thing, is they get no satisfaction at home because everyone's like, get the fuck out of my house. Don't ever talk to my family again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so they leave the private sphere and they go to the public sphere. All of these people, they're malignant tumors on society. But I would never say something like that.
Save it for the group chat.
Save it for the group chat. I'm not in a group chat. No. Tarosian goes, and he goes to Israel as a fucking 20-year-old to personally beat up Palestinians, allegedly. And I think it was he was going to protest the protesting of village destruction. So he's going as he's not even a settler. He's just going as an ally to the illegal settlements. He's good friends again with Torres. And by the way, a lot of these people who are backing, who are in this Columbia group chat are backers of Richie Torres. Big time.
So this is what Ross Glick had to say about the whole situation to the Times of Israel. He said, college campuses have effectively become war zones. Even many of the protesters engaging in peaceful activities are part of a front for groups that are trying to undermine America and Israel. We believe in freedom of speech, but if a foreign student is here on a visa, they don't have the same rights as others to protest or promote anti-Zionist narratives. Then he goes on to say, they've created a list of dozens of students from Canada and the United Kingdom, as well as several Arab countries, identified at top schools like Columbia University, University of Pennsylvania, University of Michigan, and University of California, Los Angeles. So he gave a statement much closer to when I think all this was going down, a week ago or so, to The Guardian. This guy also is he will literally talk to anybody. It's crazy some of the stuff he just admits freely to the papers.
Yes.
But he gave a statement to The Guardian, and he's like, we've submitted a list of thousands of names of students and faculty that they believe to be on visas. And he says that he claimed to have shared this list personally with Marco Rubio, Stephen Miller, Pam Bondi, and among others. Now, it's been reported that he met and had a long meeting with fucking John Fetterman and Ted Cruz. And Ross Glick came out and said, I discussed with Ted Cruz, Mahmoud Khalil specifically, just days before the arrest.
Liz, breaking news just came in right here. I'm looking at rossglick.com. And one of the things that I want you to go to this website. Oh, no. Tap it into that little notebook here.
He redid his website.
Oh, it's incredible now. He's got a logo. He's got an RG. Do you see that on the left there?
Glick
Ross.
God,
It says Glick Ross. Yeah.
Wait.
By the way,
Ross?
this guy has been.
RG
I just want to. I know more
Why
about.
does it say Glick Ross?
Glick Ross.
But it's
Like Rick Ross.
RG
It's sort of
and then Glick Ross.
Max Reed style.
Yeah.
Reed
like
Max.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I want to go ahead and say this guy has been a failure at literally everything he's ever done in his life. I have looked up his entire business industry. I've looked up everything about this guy. Everything has failed.
These
and not only has it
portraits are
failed,
incredible.
it's failed spectacularly. He is ugly. Listeners, go to rossglick.com. Boy, it is Ross's journey. It is amazing. He is fucking...
A proud American dedicated Zionist and advocate for Israel Jews in the diaspora, combating anti-Semitism in the streets in Washington, D.C. and online. Hashtag family, hashtag fitness, hashtag food, hashtag music, hashtag startups, hashtag football coach, hashtag art, hashtag adventure, hashtag politics.
Looks like there's a phone number at the bottom there. But I want you to go to public statement. I found this extraordinary. Public statement. It's the only thing that's it's bolded here. Go to the top. Public statement. I've never seen anything like this in my life.
And legal warning.
And legal warning. What does this say on this guy's personal website? This is a crazy thing to have to do.
Okay, it says it's up in the top menu and you click public statement.
And this is the person who's close to John Fetterman and Ted Cruz and getting people here on green cards deported.
Public notice and legal warning. Upon information and belief, false and defamatory statements against Ross Glick have been posted online in various sources such as New York Post and Palestinian News Network. It must be stated unequivocally that Ross Glick is not a sex criminal. He has never been convicted of a crime. And any statements to the opposite are legally actionable and will not be tolerated. To be clear, it continues, to be clear, Ross Glick has never been convicted of any crime, let alone a sex crime. And it goes on. It goes on. It's like very long. And then at the end of it, it says, in fact, all criminal charges were dismissed. That's in bold.
So he hasn't been convicted of a sex crime. He is an unconvicted. I mean, I'm not saying anything about Ross Glick here. I'm not saying anything about Ross Glick's legal history here. I'm just trying to wonder about the legal realities of this in the first place. So he's an unconvicted sex criminal, or he's not a sex criminal at all. He just did things of a sexual nature that are seen as morally, ethically, and legally wrong, but he could not be convicted of those things?
He says the only remaining charge that Mr. Glick faced was the non-criminal violation of harassment in the second degree. Harassment in the second degree in New York is a violation that involves intentionally harassing, annoying, or alarming another person. It is a violation, not a crime. And the maximum penalty is 15 days in jail and a $250 fine. This is the legal equivalent to a parking ticket. Sorry, harassing women is the legal equivalent to a parking ticket, says rossglick.com.
It's just interesting. He says it's reckless, agenda-driven defamation targeting a successful Jewish businessman. And I got to tell you, this is crazy. I've looked at Ross Glick's business history. I've looked at it in depth. He is not successful. I mean, by any definition.
To be Jewish business owner on Jewish business owner.
I mean, I'm even sure that he's Jewish. I haven't seen his penis, which many people apparently have. I mean,
he's asking other people.
It is ridiculous. He's saying he's gonna. I talked to a lawyer about this. I talked to a couple lawyers about this, Jewish and non-Jewish lawyers, and they say that this is just this is a non-actionable. You cannot do anything. This is not a real legal statement.
Interestingly, at the end of this, it says any threats, harassment, or doxing, including the use of images of his children, will be referred to law enforcement. So there's a very clear statement here on doxing babies.
But I don't understand because he's got a picture of himself with his children here.
I think he's preemptively doxing his babies.
He is you got to do it. You got to strike. Fortune favors the bold. Frankly, you seem more bald than bold, Mr. Glick.
Oh, that's terrible.
I'm going to tell you, this guy is out of control. Legal notice on the website, and he's meeting with John Fetterman. Legal notice. I'm not a sex criminal. Well, buddy, nobody called you a sex criminal. Have they? I mean, I don't.
Well, he's calling himself that.
I mean, I just got to say, an old folk tale from where I come from says where there's smoke, there's fire.
Well, no one was thinking it until he said it. So executive director of Betar, although Betar says no affiliation, even though he's still being labeled executive director of Betar in various articles about the group, they wrote, expect naturalized citizens to start being picked up within the month on X. I mean, that's fucking insane. So they're talking about people who've been naturalized, people who have come to America and now become citizens, which means, like, by the way, I don't know if people understand, I'm sure people know this process, but it takes a very long time. You cannot just immediately become a citizen.
No.
There is a process. There's a wait to get a green card, then to renew the green card and wait many years in order to have the opportunity to then become a citizen.
Yeah. So I talked about this with a lawyer who deals with issues relating to Palestine in America yesterday. And he's like, it's bad. Like they might actually do this. He's like, this is not really, I'm saying this not as a joke. This is not legal advice. Do not take my word for this. I'm just saying this. I mean, this is something someone told me, but he's like, it's going to be harder if it's like more than 5 years ago, but it's within 5 years. It's like not as hard for them. It won't be as hard for them to do it. Cause like we were talking about this yesterday, you and me, like there's certain questions that like they ask you on your application for like, I think both visa and citizenship and yada, yada, yada. And like several of those are basically political questions. Like, have you advocated for world communism is one of them.
It's on the green card application too.
Yeah. Opposition to organized government, which is, it's funny because even on the I think State Department website, they say this is from like the early 20th century when they were afraid of anarchists and communists coming over here. But a lot of this stuff stems from like also post World War II Red Scare stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I have a feeling they're going to have a very liberal interpretation of what lying and what the answers to some of this stuff means.
Absolutely. That's what they're going to be fucking testing. All of this is going to the Supreme Court, by the way. All of it.
Yeah, and but
and who knows?
Who knows?
And also who knows who gets lost in the mix of that, right? Because that's going to take a long time. And and like people will self-deport out of fear. So there's like chilling effects. Who knows how the universities respond? We're going to talk about that in a second. And like in the middle of this, while they're not being stopped by judges, which by the way they are ignoring. They're just ignoring.
They're just ignoring
until they don't or not. We don't know. Like people get lost in the mix and are getting deported.
It is really like we are like quickly entering, or we're already in like a national security state dedicated to the safety of Israel in America.
Yes, and
like
Tesla.
That is in Tesla.
America is Israel plus Tesla.
Yes, it is. That is all it is. Welcome.
And if you don't support either, you're a fucking terrorist.